Hey, what's going on, everybody? Norm Rieger from HH Remodeling here, checking in on our new home construction in Tenafly, New Jersey. There's a lot going on. You're going to hear a lot of construction noise, but we're building a house. So let's check out what's going on. We're going to show you some things going on the outside of the house, and then we're going to go inside and see how the fixtures and finishes are coming. We're in the finish line. We're hoping to be wrapped up by the end of this summer, but we'll show you what's going on and give you an update. All right, so this is our poured concrete foundation. This is our poured concrete foundation with a scratch coat on it. So you can tell the difference. This is what the foundation looks like when we pull the forms off. And this is what the masons are applying right now. It's called a scratch coat, kind of for obvious reasons, because they apply a bed of mortar and then they scrape it with a trowel to give it some texture. Because when they apply the new stone veneer to it, having texture, just like when you trowel to install ceramic or porcelain tile, having this texture allows for better adhesion when you put the mortar on the stone and you go to stick the stone rather to plain smooth concrete. It adheres much better to the scratch coat or the base coat, but it's often referred to as a scratch coat. So that's why this looks different than this. This is not going to receive any stone because what we're going to have here is actually stairs, masonry stairs that go up to the back door of the house. But all around the rest of the house, we're covering it with stone veneer, and that's why you see this scratch coat. And this part of the foundation looks different than that part of the foundation. So guys, over here behind the house is a gigantic pile of dirt and soil that we removed when we were digging out to do the house and make the foundation. Now the reason why this soil hasn't been removed yet, it's not really soil, it's not topsoil, but it's what we call clean fill. A lot of this is actually going to get trucked away. But we haven't trucked it away yet because there's still one more thing we have to do on this property before we spread some of it and bring it what's called up to grade. So we're going to grade all of the property up to approximately on top of that brown line of foundation waterproofing that you see traveling around the house. But before we can do that, right back here, we're going to dig a really big hole and we're going to put what are called seepage tanks or storm chambers in the ground. Now I've done a video on these once in the past, but I'll refresh you. So whenever you build a structure, most municipalities don't want you taking your gutters and your leaders from this gigantic new structure, from all the rain that falls on your roof that's being displaced, that can't go into the grass, and it will go down the gutters and the leaders out into the streets. Now when it goes out into the streets, it goes into the storm drains, or the sewers sometimes people call them. They're not really sewers. Sewers are for sewage or sanitary waste material. Storm drains are for storm water, rainwater. So what we have to do on a lot of these additions, expansions, and especially new home construction is we have to put storm water management in. Now, we don't decide what goes in. An engineer decides what goes in based on calculations to meet the town's code requirements. So back here, there's going to be big storm water chambers buried in the ground, and all the gutters and leaders in the house are going to go into big pipes, and those pipes are going to travel out here and tie into this storm water tank. A seepage tank is usually a big concrete chamber. There's also Cultec brand tanks that are kind of like igloo-shaped plastic domes that go in the ground that sit on gravel. It doesn't matter what the tank is, but we have to have the right amount of gallons of water capacity for it to handle that water until it dissipates into the ground. So we can't take that dirt away till we install the storm chambers, and that's happening next week. So once they come, dig the hole, the town engineer gets called to inspect the preparation of the storm chambers. When they give us the go-ahead, we close up the storm chambers, tie in the gutters and the leader pipes to it, including any sump pumps, and then that gigantic mound of dirt will get graded out to meet the proper grade for the site plan, and the rest of it gets trucked away. All right, so this coffered ceiling, or it's actually a trade ceiling with what I would call a faux coffer. So normally coffered ceilings are kind of thick and beefy, they look like big boxes on the ceiling. But when you don't have high ceilings, sometimes the coffer would intrude and actually make the room feel lower, which is not the goal. It's to be an accent and to look really nice. So what we did was a very low profile coffered ceiling here. It's kind of unique to fit the shape of the room's tray ceiling that we designed with the client. And love the way it came out. It's obviously not finished yet. We have to install the light fixtures. We have to patch a hole from where a light fixture had to be moved. But really happy with the way this coffered ceiling came out. This is part of the custom carpentry that we could add on to almost any job we do. And it's not as expensive as you think. It's just a framing component to change the ceiling. and then a trim component to add the feature to get whatever pattern or design you're looking to do. I'm a big fan of these, and they don't have to be the chunky, traditional beam-looking coffered ceilings or Victorian era colonial coffered ornate ceilings. We could just apply any type of trim to create a pattern on a ceiling, and it's technically a coffered. We love these. So back on the subject of coffered ceilings, what you're looking at behind me is a more traditional coffered ceiling. You'll notice that we build a box that comes down out of the ceiling, shape it in usually squares is the most common thing. And what you're looking at behind me is a more traditional coffered ceiling rather than the low profiled coffered ceiling that we were just talking about back in the master suite. So this may look like chaos, but it's controlled chaos. The bathroom tiling has been complete. They went with a floor-to-ceiling marble look in the shower, and we traveled the tile all the way around the room. That's what we considered wainscoting. Wainscoting is normally referred to for the wood paneling that you often see, very much often vertical beadboard. But anything that is a decoration that travels on the wall around the room is considered wainscoting, and this is what we call the tile wainscoting, when we use the tile as that feature to travel around the room. Now back in the 50s and 40s and even 60s, this was done as a waterproofing kind of thing. So that's why almost all bathrooms that are pre-1960 have, you probably see a lot of pink and green and yellow and black tile. That was the color style then, but it was done more of a waterproofing than it was for a visual accent. Now we do it because of the way it looks, and this particular bathroom has a freestanding tub, so it will add a waterproofing kind of aspect to this, because there's going to be a freestanding tub, there might be some splashing. Instead of the splashing going on to plain painted drywall, the splashing from the tub will go on to the waterproof tile situation that we put up. We are, at this point, retrofitting some medicine cabinets recessed into the wall. So when you purchase a mirror or a medicine cabinet, oftentimes it gets mounted surface to the wall. Other medicine cabinets get recessed into the wall, and sometimes our clients change their mind, and after we're drywalled, they decide they want to recess the mirrors, which is totally okay with us. We'll make it happen. But now we're cutting into these walls to reframe so that it fits the medicine cabinets, so the walls receive and the medicine cabinets end up being recessed instead of flush mounted on the surface and sticking out into the room. So here's something interesting. We're inside this new home construction, and it's really warm outside. It's probably in the mid 80s. It feels like summer here in northern New Jersey. Finally, we've been waiting for it. But as we're walking around this house right now doing a job site tour, it feels nice and cool in here. It's probably 67 to 69 degrees inside the home. Now, we don't have the air conditioning running yet. We don't even have power into the house yet. The reason why it feels so nice in here is because the architect and the clients designed a home with an insulation package, which is considered closed cell, meaning we're not putting fiberglass batt insulation into the wall. Most of the walls in this home were spray foamed. So this house is completely sealed with spray foam, which conditions it and insulates it, hence the name, from the outside temperatures, even when you're not running your climate control inside. That's either air conditioning in summer or heat in the winter. And that obviously is going to save you money. So when it's almost 90 degrees outside and it feels 67, 68 degrees inside, your air conditioning is not going to be constantly running. So you're paying a little bit more money up front to be more prophylactic with your insulation, but you're saving on your utility bills over however many years you live in the home, because your heating and cooling doesn't have to work as hard to bring the temperature to a 70 degrees because of the insulation package that's in this house. All right, so we are down in the basement of our new home construction here in Tenafly, New Jersey. And you probably wouldn't even know it was a basement if you didn't see all these boxes hanging out of the ceiling. Now these we call soffits. And what they're there for is because they're hiding the air conditioning ducts and the heating ducts that travel in the basement underneath the first floor that feed the first floor. Now you say, well, why can't you put them in the ceiling? Because air conditioning ducts have to go across the house typically, and the floor joists in the house are usually going front to back. And you can't recess these unless a duct happens to be going from front to back, then you can fit it up inside the ceiling. But when these big ducts have to cross, they have to be below the ceiling. So if you have a small basement in your home, meaning a low ceiling, when you add central air or forced hot air heat, you're gonna have these big ducts traveling throughout your basement. They have to be boxed in order to have a finished look. And then what we have here is some custom carpentry around a lolly column. Now a lolly column are those typically kind of reddish cement filled steel columns that hold up the girders that we've talked about in the past. Nobody likes to look at those. I mean, you could just paint them, or we usually like to finish them. So in this case, we finished it with a recessed panel look with some crown molding at the top, some base molding at the bottom. It's a great look to hide a column, and this is one of the ways we can finish it. We could also wrap them in a product called pole wrap. We could build a square box around one of these columns, but when you have those columns in the basement, they're not expensive to hide the look and to disguise them as something that looks like it's supposed to be there, like a feature. Now, what you're also seeing behind me is a bunch of closet shelving. Now, the reason why the closet shelving is on the floor and not inside the closet is because all of our doors and trim and shelves get sprayed in a semi-gloss trim paint, where typically walls are either matte or flat. Ceiling is always matte or flat. I shouldn't say always, most of the time matte or flat. So the best way for us to paint these efficiently is to take them out of the closets, set them up, protect the floors, and spray them, and that's what you're looking at behind me.